We're delighted to be welcoming to our campus altogether 9,400 new students, which includes 4,300 freshmen, 2,250 transfer students, and 2,900 new graduate students. And in the spring, another 1,150 freshmen and transfer students will arrive. So it's a sizable class. We're very excited to see these students, and it's always a continuous reminder that these young people are the future of California, and this is why we have the University of California in the first place, and why we're all here doing all of our jobs. It's always a really exciting time, and I must say since we had receptions at my house for the incoming class for the last 2 days, I got to interact with a lot of the students. Their spirits are really high, which I think is interesting by itself. It's really, you were there, Susie, and really an exciting and excited class, which I think is really inspiring. Over the past 2 years, state funding for the University of California has dropped by $813 million, which is about 20% of our state budget. And this meant for Berkeley, we learned at the end of May, for the year beginning July 1, that we are suddenly facing a shortfall of $150 million in our budget, of which $115 million was from the state cuts and another $35 million in unfunded expenditures such as utility costs and benefit costs, costs that are normally funded by the state. So with these increased cuts now here at Berkeley, only 25% of our budget comes from the state of California. At one time that was as high as 70%. We're now down to 25%. I like to put things in human terms, in terms of what this actually means. If you look at the previous number of unfunded students, that is before the most recent budget cut, we had about 2,400 unfunded students. That is students for whom the state is providing us no money. And if you then say how large an increase was there, it turns out that now we have a little over 9,000 students, California students at Berkeley, for whom the state is providing $0. No money, none, zero. So that translates into saying that the entire entering class that just has turned up, the freshmen, the transfer students, the graduate students, all of the California residents are unfunded. So the state is providing no money. This is not a stable financial situation. We cannot have more than 9,000 students for whom the state has abandoned them. And that's the challenge that we're going to be addressing this year and next year, and undoubtedly for several years. I expect throughout the whole University of California that the regents will call on fee increases, which I think is unfortunate. I was hoping that we would ramp down to fee increases at the 3 or 4 or 5% level, and I don't know what they will be, but I would imagine they will be much higher than that. And probably we will see on all the campuses an increase in the number of out-of-state students because they pay the full cost of education. All of this is projecting forward, but if the state doesn't restore the funding for these many, many thousands of students, then one way or another we have to find the resources to support the university, because it would be go ahead. All right. It would be a complete abdication of our responsibilities here at Berkeley or at any UC campus to allow the university to deteriorate in quality. That would be a disservice to the people of California and would not be right. How are we getting through this year? So first of all, I think all of you know that we are emulating the state with an across-the-board furlough program. And so every employee, faculty, and staff, that is, who supported on state funds, on general funds in the budget, is taking a furlough, with the furlough being at the level of 10% for the highest paid employees and down to 4% for the lowest paid employees. This is painful for everyone, most especially for our lowest paid employees who are already just living on the margins. And so we're extremely unhappy to have had to implement that, but that was critical for us to avoid massive layoffs. As it is, We are in the process of laying off several hundred employees, and that will happen progressively over the year. We're extremely unhappy about that because we have a very loyal staff and who have dedicated their lives to education in California, and having to lay these people off is something that that is really unfortunate. If we did not have the furlough program, we would have had to lay off another 450 employees beyond the several hundred that we will be laying off. So the furlough program has saved the jobs of 450 employees, and for this year at least. We don't believe that the furlough program is stable long-term. Clearly isn't. And for example, among the universities that we compete with, especially the elite privates, we're the only one with a furlough program in which the senior administrators, but most especially the faculty, are taking these large salary cuts. There's no other major university. In fact, in June, I was on the East Coast, and I was in a cocktail party conversation with the presidents of Harvard and Princeton and Yale and Stanford and Michigan. And when I told them about the furlough program we were about to implement, they were actually shocked that we were in such an extreme situation that even our Nobel Prize winning faculty were going to be taking 10% salary cuts. And couldn't imagine doing that on their own campus. So I think it's a tribute to our faculty and to our staff, who are very loyal to the institution, that they're willing to make this personal sacrifice in order to save both the university and the jobs of most especially of our lower paid staff.
From what I'm hearing about the state, it doesn't sound like anyone's expecting the state's situation to improve anytime soon. So, given that, what are your plans to cope with it?
Right.
But it's probably going to be a long term.
Yeah. So we're assuming that it's going to be a long term, and in fact, in our initial budget meetings before the final $80 million cut, a number of the deans were saying, let's just borrow the money, and because we can get money at really low interest rates, and we'll pay it back when the state budget comes back. That's tempting, but I felt strongly we shouldn't do that. That we should not make the assumption that money's going to come back later. So we should actually plan on the basis that we're going to have significantly reduced funding from the state. The state not funding more than 9,000 students, that's not acceptable. But I don't expect a full recovery. So we're doing a whole variety of things. First of all, we're continuing to raise funds privately, aggressively. That's been going very well, but we will need more and more of those funds to be directed towards core support of the university, to support of students, scholarships for students, and support for faculty. So much more of our fundraising focus will be on raising funds for very direct support of people. So that's number one. Number two, of course, we're going to have a faculty, about 100 faculty members smaller as retirements come in. And so that also will save significant amount of money. Size of our staff is going to be smaller. We're trying to be smarter about our investments, and so we're going to be reconstructing our investment portfolio, again, taking advantage of low interest rates. We need to reduce drastically the amount of space that we rent, and so we're looking carefully at our real estate portfolio to reduce the amount of rent. We also believe that we can improve our efficiency. What organization can't? And so we're about to launch a major initiative to try to look from the top to the bottom of how efficient our procurement processes are, human resources, every single thing that we do, to see whether or not we can't streamline our operations and therefore cut costs and cut administrative costs. Our goal is not to take money out of the classroom, it's to take it out of the administrative structure of the university. I'm hearing more and more from middle-class parents that this is not sustainable for them, and that a middle-class family with 2 kids in college can't afford a net cost of $40,000. So this is an increasing challenge in California. It's not just Berkeley, it's the entire system. And we're going to have to figure out a way of extending financial aid from truly low-income people up into the middle class, which may mean an expansion of the Cal Grant program or other approaches. Many people say, well, we'll have to privatize. My answer to that is the United States has enough great private universities. We don't need another one. We need great public universities in this country, and our challenge is to maintain Berkeley and other UC campuses as great public institutions.